Kleppers Corner. Today in the news, August 17th, 2025. Welcome back to Kleppers Corner, the only show where international diplomacy, collapsing cardboard box sales, and a guy in Indiana named Dale all somehow end up in the same rundown. Because that's the world we live in now. A world where the biggest headlines aren't just about who's winning wars or losing elections, but also about whether the economy can still afford to ship your Amazon impulse buys in anything sturdier than a paper lunch sack. Today, we're diving into the latest headlines that prove once again, reality has officially stopped taking its meds. So buckle up, pour yourself a stiff drink, preferably something cheap because tariffs just made whiskey a luxury item, and let's break it down. Segment 1, the Alaska Summit. A diplomatic victory for Putin, a participation trophy for Trump. So, the much-hyped U.S.-Russia summit in Alaska just wrapped up, and spoiler alert, if you were hoping for peace in Ukraine, you might want to sit down. Actually, just lie down on the floor, because this was less summit and more 3-hour photo op where Trump let Putin take a joyride in the Beast, the presidential limo. Yes, Putin literally got chauffeured around in America's armored limo. Nothing screams standing up to an autocrat like letting him borrow your ride. What's next? Putin gets the nuclear codes as a party favor. Trump came out of the meeting saying it was extremely productive, many points agreed to. Translation, they both agreed lunch in Alaska was cold. No ceasefire, no treaty, not even a vague promise to text later. Putin, meanwhile, called it an understanding, which is Russian for, I just conned you out of something. Analysts describe the summit as a 1-0 win for Putin, which feels generous. Honestly, it's more like Putin scored a hat trick while Trump got distracted waving at the Zamboni. But the real kicker? Trump pivoted U.S. policy from demanding a ceasefire to pushing for a peace agreement, which is like going from please stop hitting me to can we just agree on which bones you'll break so we can move on. A peace deal on Russia's terms basically means Ukraine is supposed to gift wrap the Donetsk region like it's a housewarming present for Putin. And to top it off, Ukraine wasn't even invited to the first round of talks. Imagine negotiating a divorce settlement without inviting your spouse. Trump basically said, don't worry, Ukraine, we'll fill you in after Putin and I decide what you get to keep. Spoiler alert, not much. This whole peace agreement framing is Putin's dream scenario. No ceasefire, no pressure to stop shooting, just keep bombing while negotiating from a stronger position. It's like being allowed to keep punching someone while discussing whether you'll eventually stop punching them. Segment 2, Israel at a crossroads. Hostage protest and Houthi drama. Meanwhile, in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu is pulling off the rare political magic trick of fighting a war abroad and at home simultaneously. On one side, mass protests demanding a ceasefire and hostage release. On the other, airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. Because apparently when things get messy domestically, the best move is to bomb another country. It's the geopolitical equivalent of look over there. Families of hostages have been blocking highways, lighting bonfires, and chanting, "We don't win a war over the bodies of hostages," which is a powerful slogan and also a sentence that should never need to be said out loud. Netanyahu's government responded by calling the protests harmful and accusing them of helping Hamas. Because nothing unites a divided country like telling grieving families they're basically terrorists for being sad in public. Then there's Yemen. Israel struck an energy plant near Sana'a, knocking out power in retaliation for Houthi drones and missiles. The Houthis, backed by Iran, are like that one drunk guy at the bar fight who keeps throwing punches even though no one invited him. Low-cost attacks, maximum chaos, and suddenly the Red Sea looks less like an international shipping lane and more like a Fast and Furious sequel with drones. The irony? Bombing Yemen only boosts the Houthis' street cred in the region. Israel thinks it's projecting strength. The Houthis think they're scoring points in the Middle Eastern Resistance Olympics. And Netanyahu, he gets to keep telling Israelis, forget the hostages, we're fighting evil 1,000 miles away. Because if you can't win over your people, distract them with a bigger, scarier bad guy. Classic authoritarian playbook. Segment 3. Australia grants asylum to Ted Hu, a middle finger to Beijing. Down under, Australia just gave political asylum to Hong Kong activist Ted Hu, which is basically the diplomatic equivalent of giving Beijing the finger while yelling, "Come at me, bro." Hu's a wanted man under China's national security law, which in practice means you disagreed with the government once, now you're a criminal forever. China slapped a $1 million Hong Kong bounty on Hu's head. Australia responded by saying, "Cool story, mate. Here's a visa. Bring the kids." And not just Hu, they granted asylum to his whole family, which is both compassionate and ensures he won't accidentally star in a Chinese propaganda piece titled, "Lonely Dissident Regrets Everything." This move comes just a month after Australia's Prime Minister tried cozying up to Beijing to fix trade ties. So the timing? Chef's kiss. Canberra basically said, yes, we'd love your grapes and steel, but also screw your repression. Predictably, Hong Kong's government freaked out, calling it barbaric interference, which is rich, coming from a regime that literally put bounties on foreign soil like it's the Wild West. Next up, China might threaten tariffs on kangaroo jerky. Honestly, Australia should lean in. Just make free Ted Hui koozies, sell them at rugby games, and call it democracy merch. Segment 4, the U.S. economy, when cardboard boxes tell the future. Back home, America's economy is giving us mixed signals. GDP looks solid, but underneath the hood, the engine's coughing like a '98 Ford Taurus. Case in point, the cardboard box index. Yes, economists actually track cardboard box sales as a leading indicator. And guess what? They've plummeted to the lowest level since 2015. Translation, fewer boxes, fewer goods being shipped, fewer people impulse buying juicers they'll use once. Cardboard boxes are like the canary in the coal mine. If the canary stops singing, miners panic. If the box stops shipping, Amazon panics. Right now, the box is basically lying flat saying, "Tell my wife I loved her." On top of that, housing and labor markets are frozen. People aren't moving houses or jobs because interest rates are high. Mortgages are locked, and nobody wants to give up their cheap loan from 2020. It's like musical chairs, but everyone's glued to their seat and the music stopped years ago. And of course, tariffs. Trump's 50% tariffs on grapes have Brazil mad. Lula literally said, "I plant food, not hate," which is one of those lines that sounds like it should be embroidered on a throw pillow at Whole Foods. Meanwhile, new tariffs on semiconductors and steel threaten to make your next iPhone cost more than your rent. So yes, GDP growth looks okay, but that's only because imports dropped. Companies stocked up early to dodge tariffs. Strip that away, and private domestic investment fell almost 16%, which means the economy's not growing, it's just plain financial dress-up. We're basically hiding the bald spot with a comb over and hoping nobody notices. Spoiler, everyone notices. Segment 5, global briefings, earthquakes, AI drama, and crime in Indiana. Quick hits time. In Indonesia, a 5.8 earthquake struck central Sulawesi during a church service, injuring nearly 30 people. Thankfully, no tsunami, but once again, Mother Nature reminded us why Indonesia lives permanently on hard mode. If America's disaster risk is forgetting sunscreen, Indonesia's is literally the planet cracking open under your feet. In tech news, Perplexity AI reportedly offered $34.5 billion to buy Google Chrome. Yes, an AI company wants to buy your browser. Imagine asking your AI for directions and it responds, "Step 1, uninstall Chrome. I own it now." Meanwhile, the UK government announced it'll trial AI agents to help citizens with stuff like moving homes or finding apprenticeships. Because what's better than an algorithm deciding your future? Oh, right. Literally anything else. And finally, back in the U.S., Trump sent National Guard troops into D.C. to take over the police department. Apparently, Washington crime now requires military intervention, which sounds less like policing and more like an audition for Escape from D.C., starring Kurt Russell as the last functioning metro train. Meanwhile, in Indiana, because somehow we always end up here, multiple shootings rocked Indianapolis, and a man in Connorsville was found dead in a cemetery. Yes, a man was killed in a cemetery. Dark, tragic, and also the setup to every ghost story you've ever heard. If you're a cop in Indiana, that's less solving a crime and more joining the Scooby-Doo gang. Alaska summits that leave Putin smiling, Israeli protests colliding with airstrikes, Australia telling China to shove it, cardboard boxes predicting doom, and Indiana somehow turning into Gotham City without the Batman. If today's news proves anything, it's that geopolitics is just high-stakes improv where everyone forgot their lines. We'll keep watching, keep laughing, and keep asking the only question that matters. Are we doomed or just hilariously bad at this? That's today's Kleppers Corner. See you next time, unless the cardboard box index drops to 0. Then we're all screwed.